his experience with President Trump during his first administration.
Those first few interactions, we would talk about them after the fact, and we were almost naive in thinking, is this president actually trying to influence our investigative decision-making? We didn't want to believe it, so we started almost contorting ourselves to make up other excuses for what we saw was happening. That was until he came out and absolutely explicitly asked us to drop the case against Mike Flynn. It was one of these like watershed moments. Well, now fast forward to where we are today. Those requests aren't happening quietly between the president and the director of the FBI in the Oval Office. They're happening on social media.
Yeah. Joining us now, MSNBC Justice and Intelligence correspondent Kim Delaney and former SDNY federal prosecutor Jackie Kelly. Welcome to you both. So, Jackie, how damaging is this blurring of the lines between the nation's law enforcement agencies and the executive branch? Because legally, is there any distinction between Trump saying out loud he would like to see Comey prosecuted and then directly ordering his prosecution?
Yeah, I think there's a big difference. You know, we've been talking for a long time about the erosion of the independence of the Justice Department. And I think what you see now is we're not talking about erosion. There's been an earthquake, and we see the fissure line, a direct directive from the president to the attorney general, followed by actually making good on those expectations and securing an indictment within a week of that directive coming down. It shows you that that line of independence, it's gone. And it's quite a big change, even from where we were in the last Trump administration.
You know, Ken, the prosecutor in the DOJ's case against former FBI Director James Comey is very new to prosecuting, but is not new to Donald Trump. She was previously on the president's legal team defending him against charges of illegally retaining government documents at Mar-a-Lago. We all remember that. How are career prosecutors viewing this appointment and then the other appointments of former Trump attorneys like Emile Beauvais, Todd Blanche, and others?
Yeah, well, in terms of this most recent appointment of Lindsay Halligan, who has no prosecutorial experience, current and former DOJ officials I talked to are aghast over this because it's really obvious what's going on here. The career U.S. attorney, who was a Trump pick to run that office, but was also a career prosecutor, did not want to bring this case, and so he was basically fired. And Trump brought in a lawyer that he could find, who was not a prosecutor, who barely could find the grand jury room in the courtroom in Alexandria to bring this case. And it's obvious to everyone what's going on here. And the thing, Alex, that is really difficult to sort of grasp here is that there is no law. There's no legal prohibition against Donald Trump ordering a prosecution because the DOJ is part of the executive branch. What there was a 50-year post-Watergate norm, and there were policies. But they were just that. They were policies. It's not enshrined in law, and it's a really difficult thing to enshrine in law, but it's something we've never seen before in our history since Nixon. George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, Joe Biden would not have dreamed of getting anywhere near a criminal prosecution decision, and any hint that anybody at the White House did was essentially a scandal. That is completely out the window now. We're living in a different world, and we're all going to suffer the consequences of that. And the question is whether the public, cares enough about this to take action, to protest, to vote. We're going to see exactly how much this is going to mean to folks going forward.
Ken, I want to pick up on the word hint. There is no hint about this. Donald Trump puts everything out on social media. We see exactly what he's doing. It's not as if he's making a cloak and dagger phone call from some closet, saying, hey, I want you to, investigate. Has that then eroded people's interpretation that this is a problem? Because people can argue, hey, he's putting it out there. He's not trying to hide it.
You're making a very interesting point, Alex. Not only is he putting it out there now, he ran on this. He said he was going to do these things, and many of us didn't believe or didn't grasp how fully he meant what he said. Because this did not happen in the first term. Obviously, the Justice Department sort of ran the way Justice Departments normally do, and people pushed back on Donald Trump trying to order these kinds of things. Look, he said he was going to do it, and he's doing it, And you're right, it's been a bit normalized. We're a bit frogs in the boiling water here as these things continue to happen. If you had told me, if you had painted this picture for me a day after Donald Trump was elected, I would have said there's no way that can happen in our system. But it's happening. It's happening right now. And James Comey, it may only be the first of many of Donald Trump's enemies who are subjected to federal prosecution, essentially ordered by the White House, Alex.
So, Jackie, let's talk about Comey's attorney, who is no slouch. It is Patrick Fitzgerald. He is someone who has taken down the mob, convicted governors. He's prosecuted terrorism cases. He reiterated Comey denies any charges and looks forward to vindication in the courtroom. Can you help us sort of predict how he might build a defense?
Yeah, look, he's a really formidable opponent. I think anyone on the other side of Pat Fitzgerald would be looking ahead and thinking about how you need to be on your A game and on your toes. And it's hard to see how Halligan is going to do that. You can't even really predict how she's going to prosecute this case. It's not clear who she has in EDVA to go to court, if anyone, and how this is going to proceed. I think that Pat Fitzgerald has shown, you know, he's worked with Mr. Comey and been friends with him for a long time, but in the courtroom, he is a pro. And I think the rest of the team will be similarly prominent people within the criminal lawyer community. And they have Jim Comey as their client, who, you know, before he was director of the FBI and holding high-ranking positions within DOJ, was also known as one of the most preeminent criminal trial lawyers. So this is a team that's going to be really hard for anyone, any government team, to counter in court. And it's hard to see how Halligan is going to be able to put together a team to do that.
So Jackie, and I'm out of time, but could the president direct Pam Bondi, or could she on her own accord say, you know what, we don't think that she's up to it. She's never prosecuted one case in her entire life, her career. So we're going to have to replace her. Can that be done easily?